On a cool evening, as the sun began its descent behind the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the sky, Sarah decided to take a leisurely stroll through her neighborhood. The air was crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of autumn leaves and the distant sound of laughter from children playing in the fading light. It was a typical evening, one that she had enjoyed many times before, where the comforting hum of familiar sights and sounds wrapped around her like a soft blanket. As she walked, Sarah admired the quaint houses that lined the street, each one telling its own story through the unique architecture and vibrant gardens. The rhythmic crunch of gravel under her feet blended harmoniously with the rustling leaves overhead, creating a peaceful symphony that accompanied her thoughts. She often found solace in these walks, a chance to escape the pressures of her daily life and immerse herself in the beauty of her surroundings. However, on this particular evening, something felt different. The shadows began to stretch longer as the sun dipped lower, and an unusual stillness settled over the neighborhood. The laughter of children faded, and the usual chirping of crickets seemed to hush, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. It was in this eerie quiet that Sarah first heard the whispers. At first, she dismissed it as the wind rustling through the trees, but as she paused to listen, she realized the sound was more distinct, almost melodic, yet haunting. Curiosity piqued. Sarah turned her head, scanning the empty street for the source of the whispers. The shadows cast by the streetlights danced along the pavement, but there was no one in sight. A chill ran down her spine as she quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a soft breeze, beckoning her closer. Sarah, they seemed to call, her name drifting through the air like a forgotten memory. It was both enchanting and terrifying, an unexplainable lure that tugged at her very core. Against her better judgment, she felt herself drawn to the sound, her steps guided by an invisible force as she ventured deeper into the heart of her neighborhood. As she followed the ethereal murmurs, she noticed her surroundings changing. The well-lit streets transformed into dimly lit paths, the warm glow of the streetlights fading into shadows that seemed to stretch and swell like living things. A sense of foreboding filled the air, yet the whispers continued to entice her, promising secrets and revelations that lay just beyond the veil of reality. Then, to her astonishment, Sarah stumbled upon an abandoned house she had never noticed before. It stood at the end of a narrow alley, its once vibrant paint now peeling and faded, the windows boarded up like hollow eyes gazing into the void. Vines twisted around the porch railings, and the overgrown garden seemed to have swallowed the path leading to the front door. It was a house out of a storybook, both enchanting and sinister. Before she could second-guess herself, the door creaked open on its own, as if welcoming her into its dimly lit interior. Sarah hesitated, a surge of doubt creeping in, but the whispers enveloped her, urging her forward. With a deep breath, she stepped inside, the air thick with dust and the scent of mildew. The door slammed shut behind her, echoing through the empty halls. As she ventured deeper into the house, the whispers transformed from soft murmurs to a cacophony, filling her ears and overwhelming her senses. It was as if the very walls were alive, breathing with the weight of countless stories waiting to be told. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering in the dim light like ghosts of the past, and Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. "Help us," the whispers cried, their tone shifting from alluring to desperate. Sarah felt her heart race as she tried to make sense of the chaos surrounding her. She turned to leave, but her feet seemed glued to the floor, an invisible force holding her captive within the house. Panic surged through her veins as she realized she was rooted to the spot, unable to escape the clutches of the darkness that enveloped her. It was then that she understood the truth. The shadows weren't merely cast by the streetlights outside. They were spirits waiting for her all along. Each whisper belonged to a soul trapped within the confines of the house, their stories lost in time, yearning for someone to hear them. Sarah's heart ached as she felt their pain and longing, a deep sorrow that resonated within her. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper, her voice trembling as she sought to connect with the spirits around her. The whispers quieted momentarily, and she felt a shift in the air, as if the house itself was leaning in, eager to share its secrets. "We were once like you," a voice emerged from the cacophony, clearer than the rest. "We lived, loved, and lost, but we are trapped here, bound to this place by our regrets and unfulfilled desires." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she listened, her fear giving way to empathy. She could feel the weight of their stories pressing down upon her, and she realized that their whispers were not meant to scare her, but to reach out for help. They needed her to understand, to remember them, to release them from their eternal prison. "What can I do?" she asked, her voice steadier now, a flicker of determination igniting within her. The shadows shifted, swirling around her, their energy crackling in the air. They seemed to lean closer, eager to impart their wisdom. "You must listen," the voice urged, filled with a sense of urgency. "You must hear our stories, acknowledge our pain, and in doing so, you may help us find peace." Taking a deep breath, Sarah closed her eyes and opened her heart to the whispers. One by one, the spirits began to share their tales, stories of love lost, of dreams unfulfilled, of lives cut short by tragedy. Each narrative unfolded like a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow, and as Sarah listened, she felt the weight of their experiences wash over her. The first spirit, a young woman named Eliza, spoke softly, her voice filled with sorrow. "I never had the chance to tell him how much I loved him. I lost him in a tragic accident, and now I'm bound to this place, haunted by my silence." Sarah's heart ached for Eliza. "You can still find peace. Write him a letter. Let your feelings be known, even if it's just for yourself. He will hear you." Eliza's whispers turned to a soft glow, and Sarah felt a warmth radiate from her spirit. "Thank you, I will do it. I must let go." Next, an elderly man named Harold joined the conversation, his voice tinged with regret. "I spent my life chasing wealth, but in the end, I lost my family. I never told them how much they meant to me." "You can still honor them," Sarah replied gently. "Speak their names, remember the good times, and share those memories. They will feel your love." Harold's spirit shimmered, a hint of relief in his tone. "You are right. I will not let my regrets define me. I will cherish their memory." Then a child's voice echoed through the room, light yet filled with longing. "I wanted to play outside, but I was always told to stay in. I never got to experience the world." Sarah knelt down, her heart breaking for the child. "You can still experience it. Imagine the places you want to go, the games you want to play. Let your imagination soar, and you'll find freedom." The child's laughter filled the air, a sound so pure it brought tears to Sarah's eyes. "Thank you. I'll play in my dreams, and one day, I will fly." With every story, she could sense the spirits drawing closer, their energy intertwining with her own. The darkness that had once felt suffocating began to lift, replaced by a glowing warmth that filled the room. Sarah realized that by acknowledging their pain, she was helping them find solace, a way to move on from the shadows that had confined them for so long. Hours seemed to pass as she listened, her heart aching for the souls trapped within the house. Finally, as the last story came to an end, a profound silence enveloped the room. The whispers faded into a gentle hum, and Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over her. "Thank you," the voice echoed softly, a whisper of gratitude that resonated within her. "You have given us a gift, the gift of remembrance. We can finally move on." With that, the shadows began to dissipate, swirling upwards like smoke into the night. A brilliant light filled the room, illuminating every corner as the spirits released themselves from their earthly bonds. Sarah stood in awe, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed their liberation, a bittersweet joy swelling within her heart. As the last of the shadows faded away, Sarah felt an unexpected warmth envelop her, a gentle embrace that filled her with love and light. The house, once oppressive and dark, now felt alive with energy, the air crackling with a sense of freedom and hope. Stepping out of the house, Sarah found herself back in the quiet street, the moonlit path stretching before her. The neighborhood was alive again, the sounds of laughter and crickets filling the air once more. She looked back at the abandoned house, now just a silhouette against the night sky, and smiled, knowing that it no longer held the weight of sorrow. From that day on, Sarah continued her evening strolls, but now she carried with her a newfound understanding of the stories that lingered in the shadows. She became a guardian of memories, sharing the tales of those who had come before her, ensuring that their whispers would never fade into silence again. And as she walked, she felt the spirits of the house beside her, guiding her steps and reminding her of the power of compassion and connection. In the end, Sarah learned that even in darkness, there is a light that can guide us home, and that every whisper carries with it the weight of a story longing to be heard.